Welcome everyone to Symphony University episode 10. This is a special one. I'm really excited to have you here today, Aara. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure you all do know, but Aara is doing big things as she's been for the past 8 years at Alamo Records and other independent labels as well, helping artists with rollouts, marketing. She's a superstar. She's been doing her thing, making her name, and we're really excited to learn from you today, Aara. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining us, and it's all you know.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I'm so excited to have everyone here. I'm hoping that the information I share can help you guys with your music that you're putting out, or even if you're on someone's team. So we can just get right into it, really. So who is R? That's another picture of me. I'm a marketing professional with over 8 years of experience working at major independent labels. So just to elaborate on that a little bit, I got my start in the music industry doing internships. My first label job was at Atlantic Records. Shout out to them. I learned so much there, and I was an assistant. I also worked at EQT, which is an independent label based out in LA, and they have partnerships with Capital and the UMG systems. I worked on Smino, Masego with them, and now I'm at Alamo, where I am the director of marketing, and I have a full roster of artists, including Rack Baby, O3 Grito, and others. And yeah, that's pretty much like the career intro. More about me personally, I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, specifically Elm Hill Park. You see, they shout out my street, like they're in here today. I went to Hampton University and graduated class of 2016. At Hampton, I studied, I love that, Charlia. At Hampton, I studied strategic communications. Some of my hobbies include hanging out with friends. I'm an amateur chef, probably like everybody else, and I'm a daughter, sister, friend to many. And yeah, that's pretty much it about me. Okay, so the overview. So these are the sections that we're going to talk through today, just about how to make your rollout a movement versus just like something that comes and goes. So we're going to start talking about the artist ecosystem, your music or the artist music, what they're making, crafting a vision, digital versus traditional marketing, community building, and creating longevity. And then we can do a Q&A and just answer some questions. Okay, so the artist ecosystem, who is on your team and what is their role? So I have a picture of the Celtics right here. I got to represent for Boston, and they're the best team. So who else to learn from? Um, so basically, no one creates motion single handedly. I haven't seen any artist or anybody become successful just by doing everything by themselves. You have to rely on a team to help you get to the next level. So there's many different versions of that depending on your situation. You may be an independent artist who just has, so you're doing everything by yourself. So that's just your internal team. It's literally just you and whoever else is invested in your vision. So that might be a friend, that may be people who are just locked in with you. It just depends. But I do think that it's important to have people on your team. Whether they're appointed into like a traditional role when you're independent, it's not that serious to me. I think as long as you have people who are invested and willing to get their hands dirty, that works. If you're more into, like, let's say you have a distribution deal, or let's say that you are signed to a label, you're going to have an external team. So that's going to be like the label services. So like for me, for example, at Alamo, I'm not on anyone's management team, but I am their project manager. So I am their external team. They may have conversations with their internal team, which is like their management, their creative director, whoever that is. And then they may come to me and like, present their vision as a group. So I think just understanding like what's everybody's role and what they're supposed to be doing, that way you can all work together. And there's going to be obviously like times where people cross and someone might be doing this and it's not technically their role, but like just understanding where everyone can champion themselves and where everybody is like a professional. I think that's the best way to understand your ecosystem and your team. And at the end of the day, we're all, everybody should have watched Drumline in here. If you haven't, watch it. But one band, one sound. Like, we should all be communicating the same message. We should all be on the same page. Your management team should be on the same page with your external team. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Does anyone have questions about different roles at labels specifically, or maybe there's some questions about people on your own team, or like how do you appoint people on your team or find this help? If not, we can get back to it or just save that for the end. I think we can, yeah, we can keep going. So your music, this is why we're all here, right? So everybody, this is the main thing that we're doing. We're marketing this music. This music is the product. This is what we're putting out into the world. And I think that marketing and having a rollout, it really starts here, because you want to really think about creativity versus strategy and how those two things can work together. I think that a lot of times what I see now is there's artists who don't really care about what they title their project, or they don't really care about, what their tracks are titled. They don't, there's no hook on the song. I'm noticing that a lot with the younger rappers that are coming up in the scene right now. How are people going to remember your song if there's no hook? You know what I mean? How are people going to remember your song if you didn't title it with intention? I think all of those things are questions that people have to ask themselves and really think about, because it does play a part into the bigger picture of what you're trying to do. I think also when you're making music, I don't think that you should be comparing yourself to anyone or looking to someone and saying, oh, I want to sound like this, I want to be like them. But I do think that you should understand who your affinity artists are. Who are the people that are growing at the same pace as you? Who is on the same level as you, and you guys are both kind of coming up at the same time? I think that matters, because that's a good way to track yourself. You know what I mean? Like, we both put out a project in 2017. It's a good way to study and see, like, okay, are we equally yoked, or we keep moving up together? Because you will outpace people, or people will outpace you, but it's good to just know. Okay, Whitney, I see your question. I'll answer it at the end for sure. Who are you a fan of? I feel like sometimes you talk to artists and they're like, I don't listen to anybody. I'm not a fan of anyone. I'm just a fan of my own music. And I don't think that's like a good start to crafting a good rollout for yourself, because everyone's inspired by something, right? So somebody that made you feel something when they released music, or you felt like you were a part of that movement. Just think about those things. It doesn't make you, a fan of them, or like, I guess, no, it does make you a fan of them, but it doesn't make you like thirsty, is what I'm trying to say. It just makes you know that you're studying your music and that you're thinking about the things that you're doing. We can go to the next slide too. So I wanted to give an example of what I'm talking about when it comes to the music. So I really am a big fan of Young Nudie, for example, right? He's been putting out music for years now. I think over 10 years for now. But on each of his projects, he always titles tracks after food or some type of reference to food. So if you see on the top right corner, he has a song called Barbecue. That's like on one project. And then on the next project, he has a song called Sunflower Seeds, Hot Wings. I'm seeing Blue Cheese Salad. And then he has a whole entire project now called Gumbo, and every single track is named after a food. So we have Brussels sprout, pancake, portobello, pot roast. But this is just an example of like something that A&R did and the artist did that actually translates into the marketing, right? So like this was probably already decided and discussed before it even got to the person who's handling the marketing or the project manager at a label. But it was a great basis for everyone to work off of. And he was able to do way more and expound on this gumbo and food theme. I know he did like a food truck, he did some outdoor activations, but this whole world building clearly took years, and it wasn't something that just happened overnight. It was something that, he clearly has built out from day one. So we can go to the next slide too. So crafting a vision, this is more so now we're going to move into talking about like creative artwork, music videos, those type of things. So crafting a vision and just like the overall theme of your rollout, like what, we're going to get into the whole storytelling. So crafting a vision, welcome us to your world. When I look at artwork, I feel like I should just get it, right? Like I should just look at something and be like, okay, I get the theme of this. I get what this is making me feel. When I look at this Cali artwork right here, it's okay art, right? But I'm using it as an example. You guys will see in the next slide. When I look at this art, I think fun. I think she's having a good time. I think it's lighthearted. I think that she's clearly playing off of a Beethoven. It's called Beethoven. Those are a few things that I'm noticing, in this visual. And that's the things that I'm taking away from it without hearing the music. I'm just thinking, okay, this looks like it's going to be a fun project to listen to. She's kind of like making a funny face. She looks like she's having a good time. So yeah, we can go to the next slide. So my homie, Nikki Chulo, actually designed that artwork. I believe he's still at Atlantic doing artwork and art, just direction in general. But he makes these breakdowns that he usually posts on his Instagram after a project comes out that he worked on. And this Cali one was something that he did. So what I noticed is that he took a screenshot and he broke down, how he designed this artwork. So he used this font. He named the font. I don't know how to even say that, but he named the font. He gave an example of the type. And then the language was exciting, fun, playful, vibrant, eye-catching. So those are all kind of things that I feel like I described when I first just looked at the artwork before we got to this slide. His techniques, he did the logo design, he did layout and the color grade, and then he laid out the color palette of the project. I think that's really important, right? Like looking at the color palette and making sure there's continuity throughout the rollout with that. So once you get the artwork, it's kind of like from there, all the assets that you make, all the music videos that you make, um, everything that you kind of put, it should all fit together, in my opinion. There's times when it doesn't and it still works, but I just think the best rollouts are when they're all tied together and there's a streamline, of the creative through everything. There's a creative through line. We can go to the next slide too. So I have some examples of this. My artist Rack Baby just dropped his project More Spill 2 nights ago. It's doing really well. I think we just hit #3 on the hip hop chart at Apple. So shout out to Rack Baby. We're super happy for him. But I just wanted to show like Rack Baby is, yes, Rack, hey Don Wong. Rack Baby is like a trap artist from Atlanta, right? And he's like super underground. He's kind of bubbling up and getting more mainstream now. But I think when we first got him signed to Santa Ana, where I work, one of the companies that's under Alamo, we really wanted to like create a through line for him and just help him like streamline his creative and just put everything together. I think when we came up with the Spill Season artwork, we wanted to obviously just, he said Spill Season, we were just trying to think, okay, how can we make this interesting? Because it is kind of like a simple, self-explanatory type of title. I think we picked the pink because it just popped out and it stood out and it kind of was like a fun, lighthearted color to pick. And obviously the cup has his logo on it. He's spilling it out. I think the real like magic here, or the thing that I'm most proud of, is creating that continuity into this EP that we just dropped, More Spill. So you see like the cup is still in the artwork. We just changed the colorway. The type is pretty much still the same. His logo is still present, but you actually see more of him now, from the first part to the second part. And if you think about it, you could think about it in many ways. Maybe he was inside the cup of the first artwork. You know what I mean? Maybe he was coming out of this styrofoam cup. It's just a way for fans to think about how everything's all connected and how these two things are linked together. We can go to the next slide as well. This is another project I worked on. So Valentino by Wolfface Joey. These two artworks are not, I wouldn't say they're super connected, but the theme is still there, right? So we released, the first project was called Valentino. He came back next year and released another project called Cupid. The titles connect these two things. And I feel like even with the flowers and the Valentine's Day theme on Valentino, with the Cupid and the woman in there, and she doesn't have a top on, it still feels like they're connected, even though the artwork and the colorways are not super tied together. It still feels like a natural progression that I understand, going from one project to the next. We can go to the next one too. This is like just a shout out to my mom, because she has put me onto so much music, and I noticed this like just listening to some stuff that she sent me recently. There's a amazing group, been sampled many times, called The New Birth. They released Birthday, and then they have It's Been a Long Time. So Birthday, you can see the eggs in the carton. It's black eggs, and then there's a yolk, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It wasn't until I looked at It's Been a Long Time where I noticed there's still an egg there. Now there's someone, it's not a yolk, it's actually like a chicken almost, or something, like some type of elaborate woman is coming out of this egg, but it could also be related to an animal. And I just think that you could even see 30 years ago, I'm sure these projects came out, that that was still a goal for them. They were trying to create continuity across their artwork and creative to make everything stay the same. And in this case, they're just relating everything back to their group name versus a title of a project, which is cool. So now we get into marketing. This is what I do. This is the engine behind the movement. Everything that we do is like, we're on it. Like once it gets to marketing, it's like all hands on deck. Everyone's going to come in. Everybody has an idea. These are things that we're going to talk about right now. So marketing a song versus a movement. Does anyone have an example of marketing a song versus marketing a movement? We can talk about it later. But in my example, I think recently Viking by Saw Baby is a huge song, right? But I feel like that song stood out more than the project. Versus marketing a movement, I would say like Charlie XCX's Brat. Like that was everywhere. Exactly. La Russell is a movement. Charlie XCX Brat, or exactly. That Brat shit, you saw that everywhere. Like you could not go anywhere last summer without seeing that. And I feel like that is like the definition of marketing a movement versus marketing a song. Your content strategy is important. How are you sharing short form content with your fans? Are you on TikTok? that's really like my biggest thing with everyone. I feel like marketing a movement is more about the brand. Exactly. Are you on TikTok? I really feel like the content strategy is a big thing that I've been noticing with people. And if you're not on TikTok, do you have someone on your team who is posting on your behalf, who is repurposing content? Maybe you don't like TikTok. Maybe your artist is having a hard time getting used to TikTok. Is there somebody who can screen record this person's stories, find other things that they are comfortable posting on other platforms, and move it over to TikTok? I think that is like huge. And then, independent artists using TikTok and social media to go viral. They might not have a budget. You know what I mean? They might not have a major label behind them that can dole out $10,000 for a campaign, but it's still possible to go viral on TikTok, just being yourself and creating content. I don't know if anyone's seen the kid Aara J from Brooklyn, but he's been going super viral. I just connected with him because I really like the song, but like, you know what I mean? He doesn't have any backing, but he's going super viral on TikTok. And there's many examples that you could just go check out. The more you engage with certain stuff on TikTok too, the more your algorithm will feed you that type of stuff. Because I see a lot of independent artists going viral and I engage with their content, I start seeing more of it and more examples of, success there. We can go to the next slide. So one of the big things I want to talk about in digital marketing, which I feel like a lot of people focus on heavily, it is really important, is seeding. And what do I mean by that? So like most of us have Instagram in here, right? Like how many people follow Neighborhood Talk? How many people follow the Shade Room? A lot of that stuff that's on there is paid. You know what I mean? Like people are paying for those posts to go up, whether it's posts about reality TV, whether it's posts about music, whether it's posts about, a celebrity doing something. A lot of that stuff is paid for. But what I wanted to explain to you guys is that there are smaller platforms that you can reach out to that may work with you. Maybe you don't have, $1,500. I don't know how much a Shade Room post or whatever goes for, but you might not have thousands of dollars to spend on a seeding campaign, right? But there are smaller pages, localized pages that you can find that will work with you. And usually they're like regional. So like there's a bunch of Chicago pages, there's a bunch of Atlanta pages, there's a bunch of, I'm sure there's California pages, and there's like small scale pages and there's big scale pages. So here are some of the small ones. So we have Rap Files, 40 Cent, the Chicago Wave, and ATL Up Next. These are pages that I would use for Rack Baby, right? Like these are more hip hop pages, but there are other pages for like R&B music, alternative music. And if you guys want, some of those examples, I can share those as well. But just in my experience, if you're an independent artist and you were to DM one of these pages and they can tell that you're not signed or you don't have a backing, I'm sure they'll work with you. They might charge you like $50 to get a post up, but I think it's worth it. Let's go to the next slide. So these are some of the bigger pages that I was talking about. So like College Kid, Neighborhood Talk, Say Cheese TV, My Mixtapes. Now these are the ones that are going to cost more money. You could just tell by their following. They all have over 1 million followers. You're going to get more engagement, but I just think that it's worth doing this once you have success on maybe some of the localized pages and you see that those posts are doing well, and maybe you can like move over to like a bigger pages, but these come later. And I do think that the smaller pages, like doing multiple smaller pages versus spending all your money doing one big page, I don't think that's the move. I think you should just like start off local, start building out within your like hometown or your city or adjacent cities and like go from there. We can go back a little bit. I don't have another slide, but I did want to just expound on this too. I think the seeding strategy is really important, right? Like what you're doing is you're writing a headline, you're writing a caption, you're choosing content or an image to put there. And I think that is like a big thing. So like, what is an example of that? Maybe you go on Shade Room and it's like, Beyonce just dropped her new project, Cowboy Carter. And it says, oh, what's your favorite track on the project? That's probably seeding, right? Another example is like, say you're a smaller artist, but you want to be in the conversation of bigger artists, right? You could do a post, let's say on, I don't know, Chicago Wave, where you're like, oh, like, are these the top 5 hottest artists out of Chicago? And then you put yourself into a carousel post, or you put the artist into a carousel post amongst the affinity artists that you want to be compared to. So let's say like Baby Chief Do It, Vaughn Off 1700, Chucky, and YFG Fatso, right? And I'm marketing Rack Baby, even though he's probably one of the bigger artists of that group that I just named. Let's say I put Chucky first, then I put Rack second, that, you see what I'm saying? Like I'm putting Rack in the conversation there. So even for yourself, let's say you have artists and there's all these people that he's similar to, but he's not in that conversation of those people. I could just put him into a carousel slide with those people, and then he's automatically in the conversation now. Now the comments are going to be people talking about, oh no, I like Chucky. Oh no, I like Rack Baby. But there's conversation happening. That's the goal. So that's pretty much that on seeding. Community building, sustaining momentum beyond release day. This is really important, right? I think sometimes we make rollouts and like we create these marketing plans and then we get to the end of it and it's release day and everyone's like, oh, great, everybody, it came out, we're so done. It's like the work has just started. Little do you know. So basically, having content in the tuck for after the project comes out is really important. I think once the project comes out, you should be able to get a general gauge and feedback from your audience about which songs they like. It might not be the focus track that you selected on release day. It might not be a single that was on the project. It may be some song that you didn't think anyone was going to fuck with for real, but they may like that one. And that gives you time to take that feedback and that information on release day and say, okay, I'm going to pour back into this single, or I'm going to take this song and shoot a video to it. That way now, post-release, you have a video dropping 2 weeks after release, and you can have another one dropping. That just extended your timeline by a month if you have a video dropping bi-weekly. So usually what I like to do is if I have a project come out, I'm going to do at minimum 2 to 3 videos post-release to just extend the life of the project. Community over community over going viral, basically. You can go viral, right? Anyone can go viral on TikTok. You can easily go on TikTok and post something that's just like super funny or super engaging and everyone's going to come to it and it might be a moment. There's so much stuff that I see like there might be something I saw last week that I thought was like a huge deal or was like so amazing and just happened and I've already forgotten about it. You know what I mean? Because it was just that moment. They weren't creating community. They weren't engaging with their fans. They weren't like planning out their posts, you know, to keep people engaged. I think that's really important. And like, who better does that than Nicki Minaj, right? Like, she has a community behind her. She's not worried about going viral. I don't feel like she does stuff on the internet. I mean, she does, but I don't feel like she does stuff on the internet to go viral to promote her music. Her community is going to do that for her because she's cultivated that over the years. Direct connection, so Discord, email, IGDM. I've seen a feature recently on IG where like some bigger artists have been using where like you can like AI chat with them almost. I feel like that is like something that's still being figured out, but it's a good tool. And if it's offered to you, you know, maybe take advantage of that. But outside of that, the other ways that I think is like super important is like Discord, right? If you start having like a small audience of people or a small community of people that really are really invested in you, like super fan level, you throw those people in a Discord, right? They'll eventually start running that themselves. They will start taking it over. Like they take super pride in like being a Discord leader or running a fan page on Instagram because they're getting exclusive information before others. And I feel like keeping that momentum there and like feeding, you know, those small communities that are super loyal to you, that matters. Taking a casual fan and turning them into a super fan by doing those things, right? Like creating a Discord or sending them something exclusive. Have you ever got an email from Spotify because you listen to an artist so much and they're like, oh, we want to give you early tickets because you're like in the top 15% of like this person's audience? Like that makes me feel special, even if I'm not going to buy the ticket. I'm like, oh, wow, like I really am like this person's fan for real. And I think like just pointing those things out, even if they don't engage in what your like CTA is, I think it's still important because they still feel acknowledged. Consistency and narrative building just goes back to even like the artwork, like we were saying, like creating that through line and like creating that world where like people know you for something or they know you for a vibe. I think that's super important. Like Nudie, going back to him, you know, he's known for the food tracks. He's known to like have like a dark, ominous vibe to him, but it's also cool and it's also like a Jekyll Hyde type of thing. But I feel like all of that has come over the years and like just him being consistent and he hasn't strayed away from that narrative. I think sometimes people come out and they're just like, they just want the engagement so bad and they want people to like engage with their music so bad. They're just trying all this different stuff. I think you have to find a lane and find your sound and find what you're trying to do and stick to it. And eventually the people will come. I don't think that you have to just spread yourself out doing all these different things that don't make sense. Just because you want a reaction or just because you want engagement, you're going to alienate the people that really, really, you know, fucked with you just for what you were already doing. I feel like that was like a lot of information. I'm happy to expound on any of the other areas that we need to talk about. But yeah, let's get into some of the questions.
Ara, if you'd prefer, I can read off the questions to you and
Yeah.
you can answer it. And
Okay.
you just like keep back and forth going.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's.
cool. Riza asked a question. Her question was, what do you suggest for those with a limited budget that are doing it all alone, seeking help for with a team? She's saying it can get overwhelming, but it can feel like pulling teeth trying to find people that want to work with you.
I would just say start small, right? You don't have to do everything. You're not going to be able to do everything. If it's just you, the things that I would focus on is making like direct content for social media, short form content. I would have my camera out and I would be doing this all day. And I'd be like, I would keep posting videos. I think this is the thing, right? Okay, we're going to break it down a little bit more. On TikTok, if you're going to go on TikTok and promote your music, you need to start an original sound. So you need to identify, I think it's like can be anywhere from like 15, it could be as I think up to a minute. But you need to, I personally would identify like 20 seconds of the song of 20 seconds of the song that you're trying to promote. I would identify like the most engaging part of it or the part that you think is going to go viral, right? And I would just keep making videos to that original sound. I wouldn't switch up the parts of the sound. I wouldn't give them the whole song on TikTok. I would just give them 20 seconds that I think is most engaging. And I would make at least 25 videos before the song dropped. And I would just see what happens there. You know what I mean? I think that people underestimate the power of social media. And I think once you start doing stuff yourself and you start seeing a little success, the right people who want to work with you will come to you. Don't overwhelm yourself trying to do everything at once. I think just do what is within your control.
I like that. I think this kind of jumps off of that a little bit also. Alec asking, what is your opinion on low quality short form versus high quality short form versus high quality productions, as in music videos?
I think low quality short form actually does the best. I think content again that people are just recorded on their iPhone does the best because it feels more authentic. It feels like you just recorded this and you just posted it on Instagram or on TikTok. I feel like the mid tier, like, oh, like I hired a cameraman to do short form content for me that I'm gonna post on TikTok. It could be like a hit or a miss. You know what I mean? It's good to have. If you can have all of these things, of course you should do it all. But to me, I think the lower quality stuff, it just comes off more organic and authentic. But I do see the value in having like, a content shoot per se. And then as far as like high quality music videos, I think you just have to identify the right time to scale. I think for rappers, if you're doing like a run and gun video and you just have a couple $100 and you found a cameraman who's like, yeah, we could just shoot it like down the street or whatever, like go shoot it down the street. Then you know what I mean. I wouldn't stress myself out trying to get a high quality music video when I'm not really there yet. You know what I mean? And I think there's just like a way to naturally progress. Like, oh, you went from a couple $100 music video, now you're spending 1,000 on it, or now you're getting more VFX on it, or you know what I mean. Now you have ideas about a treatment. Now I'm working with the director and we're bouncing ideas off of each other. I think you just have to know when the right time is. And I think that don't underestimate the value of like a run and gun video. Everything doesn't need to be super polished or look super labely, especially when you're just starting off.
Whitney is also asking because she's been her own team for many years, she's saying, and she
Mm-hmm.
wants to know how she goes about selecting an internal team member or members that won't slow her down.
That's a good one. Um, that's a really good one. I think at the end of the day, no one is gonna be probably as invested into your music and your brand as you, right? So like, I feel like you're always gonna come up to an issue where you feel like you might be putting in more work than others, or you may be more invested into this because it's your product at the end of the day, right? Um, I think that if you have the patience to teach someone and they really want to learn and they have the time to learn, I think that that's a way that you can get somebody on board without them slowing you down. And also, you have someone who's just like trying to get experience, right? Um, but I also think like you just have to do your due diligence. Like I wouldn't just pick some random person that like has no interest in entertainment or never did it and they're just like looking for something to do. I think that they should already have some type of idea of the music industry or they're like personally invested into it. They're a fan of somebody or a fan of music that you're making. Um, yeah, and I would just, give them small tasks to do at first. I wouldn't just throw a whole bunch of stuff on their plate and just be like, oh, you're on my team. Here's all this stuff you can do. I would just ask them to do one-off things and slowly start giving them more and more depending on if I'm pleased with the work or not.
I guess Sharika's question kind of plays into this a little bit. She's asking if there's any organizations that could help with finding interns that also help with social media marketing.
Not that I know of, but I do think that yeah, not that I know of, but I do think that if you ask, you will receive. Like, I mean, these kids are looking for opportunities right now. There's a lot of people looking for internships, and if you guys need people, I can definitely, send it you guys' way.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Whitney's asking, how much time does the viral artist use for content creation?
It looks like are you talking about the independent artist from Brooklyn that I mentioned? If you're talking about him, he's definitely doing a lot of time. I mean, the only reason why I think that he's going viral is because he's posting all day, every day. I think anytime that the kid has his phone, he's posting on TikTok, and it eventually turned into an open verse challenge, and now he has I want to say he probably has like over 1,000 creates on his sound that he started of other people doing their verse, to his song because it just went that viral. So now he can chill out. I wouldn't say he can chill out. He shouldn't, rest on his. He shouldn't like chill out. He should just keep working. But now he has all these other people making creates to his sound as well, which is only furthering his music. But it takes a lot of time. I mean, content creation, even outside of music, just like influencers and all that stuff, like that is a full-time job. That is not something that's simple, but you can make it simple. You know what I mean? Like you can scale your quality up. Like I was just, Alec was just asking about. You can start this way and then scale it up. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. I think if you just post, especially on TikTok, people do not care what you post on TikTok. It's
That
not like people are not judging you on TikTok. It's not Instagram. It's not Facebook. It's not really a lot of people that you may know in real life. And there may be a few, but like mostly in my experience, like the videos travel to a whole bunch of people that you really don't know. I feel like it's the best way to discover stuff right now.
I agree. Andreas is asking what your opinion is on sync when it comes down to making a living and monetization.
On sync, like getting your song placed on a TV show or a movie.
I believe so.
Um, Good luck. Like I don't think that those placements usually pay the most. I do think that it's a great opportunity for exposure, but I don't think that it's like something that's gonna make you a living. Yeah, I mean, I've been pitching my artists, my whole roster for sync opportunities for at least a year and a half now, and I have the whole, team at Sony who does sync, and we still haven't got any like major placements yet where it was like career changing or anything like that.
That's real. The Davina Project is asking, do you believe you have to market R&B different than you market rap music?
100%, 1,000%, and 10,000%. With R&B music, right? You're not dropping as frequently. I feel like with rap music, you just build this like crazy demanding fan base where they're like the next song, the next song, the next song, and you want to like drop every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks because you just want to keep feeding this fan base. But with R&B, I do feel like it's really like quality over quantity, and it is that for all music. But I feel like it's really particular with R&B. Um, you give them a song and you're making an R&B music, like I feel like that song should last you 6 to 8 weeks. I don't think that you should be dropping music every 2 weeks as an R&B artist. I think people have to digest your music a little bit slower. I think you're a little bit more selective. I think that the lyrics in R&B music are a little bit more meaningful and have more substance. So it takes a lot of people to digest the music, and it's just not a quick thing as hip hop. It's definitely different.
Facts. Tristan's asking, would you say an artist has to post multiple times every day to go viral, or is it possible to be spacing out as you post more?
Every day, multiple times a day, three to four times a day at minimum.
Multiple part question from Bryce Bryan. He's asking, one, what has been your most elaborate marketing game plan? And then I'll ask two once you answer that.
Okay. My most elaborate, I think, honestly, would be like the stuff that we're doing with Rack Baby. We just put out the More Spill EP. I feel like we lined every like for a rap artist. I feel like we have something every day that's going on for Rack Baby, and we have his schedule packed. And I feel like one of the hardest things to do, especially with a rap artist, and they're like super young, they're not even 21 yet, you know, they still want to hang out with their friends and like they still want to party and like they're just still growing up. I feel like we put together a really tight campaign for him. You know, I wouldn't be able to do any of that stuff without the team I work with. So like shout out to like everybody at Alamo that works at Rack Baby, works on Rack Baby. But like we had basically this more Spill EP is just a continuation of Spill season. So we had a trailer that we shot with this guy named Bryce Chill, who's like making really cool content right now, with, you know, trap artists, that shows off like, you know, them acting a little bit more or like playing into a skit. So we had that drop, and that was a way to announce the EP and give the date. We had him go up to Rod's stream last night, Rod G's, who's a popular Twitch streamer. There, you know, Rack Baby can dance. Rack Baby is like such a funny guy, but you wouldn't really know that, just like watching his social media. So we put him in these situations so that his personality can be more on display. So when he went up to Rod's stream, you know, they danced. A lot of people don't know that Rack Baby can dance. They sang Drake together. They, you know, he let some fans join the stream and like interact with Rack. That was like a big deal for us. You know, we have him on tour right now with Saw Baby. That's a big deal for him. It's his first tour where he's like providing support, and then he has his first headline show in Atlanta. So there's just a lot of things that are going into it. I'll do a full breakdown on LinkedIn just on like this project in particular. I did one before for the last project, but you guys will see everything that like went into this. And I feel like when you have these younger artists, especially the hip hop and rappers, it is really hard to move them sometimes and get them to do stuff. So I'm really proud of like everything we were able to do.
Yeah, I like that. He's asking also what period of time did the start of this, and I guess it's still continuing now, and what the overall budget has been. I don't know if you can share, but I think that
Um,
would.
I can I don't want to get in trouble. I'll give you guys a range of like, you know, what I think we spent in total on Rack Baby's project, kind of. But we started planning this project in January. I think we dropped the first single in January. It was called Check Fox 5, either January or February. So maybe 2 to 3 months out, I think, is enough time for you to like kind of start getting your stuff together. But it all depends really. Like I don't start working on marketing until the music's turned in, period, because I want to make sure that like there's not a crazy sample and like he already put it on TikTok and there's a crazy sample, now we can't drop the song. So like I really wait for A&R to like have all their stuff together before I even get involved in anything. But once they do, it probably takes me about like 2 to 3 months to like do a successful rollout, I would say.
Um, Price is asking how long the campaign is, but I think you just said 2 to 3 months for the rollout. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. And Whitney's asking if she can use old music to push content and increase followers, or if you feel like she needs a new video for every song.
No, you can push old music. You can there's I mean, if you guys see, there's like millions of songs that have been rediscovered on TikTok that have came out 10, 20, 30 years ago. You know what I mean? They identified that 15 to 20 seconds that was really going to stick, and it just caught. I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of songs that are just resurfacing on TikTok all the time. So you can always go back into your catalog and market whatever you want. There's no time limit on it. Your music doesn't expire. You can do whatever you want.
Facts. Old music is new music to someone
Yeah,
else.
to someone else, exactly.
Yeah. Darian asking, any tips for artists balancing 50-hour work weeks with consistency on social media?
Yeah, make a video going to work. Make a
Facts, right?
make a video going to work playing your song. Say I'm going to work right now, but I'm trying to be an artist and I'm playing my music. That's what I would do. I would make a video on the bus. I would make a video on the going on in the train station. I would make a TikTok leaving work. You know what I mean? I feel like I would just get it in where I could fit in. And even though you have to go to your clock into your day job, I feel like you can still implement your day job. And I've seen that happen a lot for artists too, where they're like, look, I'm doing this, I'm at work, but like I make music. And then people respect that even more because they're like, oh, this is actually like super hard. And like he's working a day job. And then like, you know, things take off from there. So I feel like just, you know, don't overthink it. You can make a video just walking to get a coffee. You can make a video getting dressed in the morning for your job, and just put your music behind it. I think especially on TikTok, people are not judging you.
I like that. As a manager, how do you convince an artist to post 3 to 4 times a day? I feel like they always give me 1,000 excuses on why they can't produce the content.
I produce the content and I post the content. That's the truth. I'm being honest. I'm not relying on artists whose mind is like all over the place and really should just be focused on making music to like post for themselves. If they naturally like are on TikTok or they're naturally like on one of these platforms and they're using it every day, then yeah, I would lean on them and be like, look, you need to post a little more. But if they're like not on it at all, then I'd be like, no. But also like, yeah, I think that was kind of like a toxic answer. I don't think I should post for them and take that responsibility on for them. But like when you just want something to work so bad, sometimes you will do things like that. But
Right.
I do think early on, if you can get it in early and like drill it down to them, like, hey, this is like a part of like your job. Like even though you're an artist, this is still work. Then they'll understand. You know what I mean? Like I have to kind of like tap in and start posting stuff. And I do think that artists, when they start seeing that their social media is growing or they're starting to see engagement on their platform, even if it's something that's manufactured by someone on their team, then they'll jump in and be like, oh, I want to use my TikTok now because they see it's popping. You know what I mean? It's like, fine, I'm not going to be mad at you. Like, here you go. Here's the login. Like,
No, yeah, facts. Christopher, how do you measure the success or opportunities once a campaign has been launched and is out in the world?
wait, can you repeat it?
Yeah, I'm gonna rephrase it. How
Okay.
does someone measure the success of their campaign once it's been launched out into the world?
You just check the analytics, I would say. You can look at how previous things performed and compare it, your previous releases, how did they compare? Personally, I have access to software like Music Connect where I can like look at streaming numbers and I can see like from last week to this week what it did, and even like you can project what it's going to do next week if you just do some like simple math formulas that I don't know off the top of my head to share with you guys right now, but people on my team definitely do. And then I think, like on TikTok, the view count is right there. So you can see if something's doing well or not. I think also when it comes to the seeding, you'll know if something's doing well or not. If like, you'll just look at the comments. You know what I mean? Having like a few bad comments is not awful because people are always going to be like contrarians, especially on the internet. But I think, you can overall see like, okay, I did this seeding, I used this narrative, and like the feedback is generally negative. Okay, I wouldn't do that again. Okay, I did the post and like I have a few negative comments, but most of them are positive. Okay, then that's a W to me. That's how I feel. And also just like, I think sometimes people focus on like, oh, I got placed on this playlist at Apple, and I got placed on this Spotify playlist. Like, oh, it's such a success. It's like that. The amount of streaming that you're getting from that playlist is probably like really small. That stuff is shrinking really bad. You want to focus on people who are typing into the app like your name and they want to find your music directly because they want to hear it, not because an algorithm or a playlist is feeding it to them. And it could help, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that there's no value there, but it wouldn't. I had to learn the hard way that that's not my main focus. That's a vanity thing mostly, I think, to just say like, oh, I was placed on Rap Life, I was placed on like New Music Friday. It's like it's cool, but like how much of your listeners are really coming from that playlist? You know what I mean? How much discovery is really coming from that playlist? Um, it's just some of these things are vanity things. Like another example, sorry, I'm like on a tangent, but like,
No, this is
you
good.
know, a lot of artists want billboards. Why? To get it outside of your house, you know what I mean? Like, but sometimes you meet the artist halfway and you're like, you know what, this is gonna mean something to them. This is their first big release. I know when they come out and they get on the expressway, seeing their billboard is gonna like give them some type of confidence boost or make them feel good about themselves. You just gotta pick and choose things that are actually valuable. There's no real tangible way to track out of home, in my opinion, unless you're like in Times Square or something like that, or you're in a place that like has like amazing foot traffic.
Facts. Riza, advice on good call to actions to push people towards your email list, project, etc. I have a hard time with good copy for CTAs.
Mm. Um, you can trick them. That's what that's what I do sometimes. You can trick them. I troll like when it comes to my artists. You know what I mean? Like example, and we can take this any way, and I can help you guys if this doesn't make sense to you. But like Rack Baby, another example. Everyone's always wanted his unreleased songs. There's some unreleased songs that are just probably never going to come out because they have samples in it that just are not, business wise working out for us. So there's that, right? I know that that's something that fans want. I know that that's something that my audience is going to be interested in. I know that they're super attached to this like unreleased music thing with him. But my priority is not the unreleased music because what am I doing with that? You know what I mean? I can't put it out. I'm not going to bank any money off of it. I'm not going to bring any revenue to the label by promoting that music. So what I did, I'm really focused on selling out his Atlanta show, right? So like I put up a post yesterday after his well, me and one of my team members put up a post after his project dropped, and we were like, oh, all this unreleased music you guys want is right here in the link. But the link was titled like unreleased music, but the link really took you to the ticket sales for the show. You know what I mean? So like maybe you do something like that where you're like tricking them, or you're doing some type of call to action where it's like they don't even realize that they're engaging with something or being led somewhere. I think you just have to really think about, what do the people care about that you're trying to market to, and then figure it out from there.
I like that. Someone's asking how much they should spend on ads. And I guess I'll add another part to that question. Do you guys run ads for the artists that you've done rollouts for?
No. We don't on videos and stuff like that. We don't do that because it can look really really fake if you don't have the right person doing it. I feel like that's a really really skilled thing to do, and I'm not super experienced with running ads. That's more of like a digital marketing thing, but I know that if it's done wrong, it's super obvious and it could look super fake, and you'll get a bunch of spam comments and things that just don't look organic. And I think that it could really drive people away versus bringing them to it.
Could you give a good major artist and an independent artist as well that you use I'm sorry, that you use as an example for good rollouts and marketing, ideally in hip hop or R&B?
Yeah, for sure. I think that who would I say had a crazy good rollout that I loved? I think Dochi's rollout for her project is amazing. I thought that the From the Block that she did when it was like fully customized was really good. I thought that everything she did, it just felt intentional down to the face tape. You know what I mean? Going back and having that consistently throughout her rollout. She really created a brand for herself, and just like the way she looks and like the things she does. Yeah, I don't know who Jai is, but like, yeah, they're eating right now. Sailor came out with a bang. Like she fully committed to like what she was doing from the jump from day one. It's just like full commitment. Um, yeah, Tyler the Creator, I think he does an awesome job. And then on like the independent side, who's an independent artist that I think is like killing it right now? I think like the movement that Cash Cobain has made. I know he has like a distribution partner, and I don't know if he's like technically fully independent, as you want to say, but like that movement that he's made, and just like the Slizzy branding and like the Slizzy feed that they made, and just like how he's just an instrumental part in the New York sound right now. I think that he's done an amazing job marketing himself from day one. A lot of people don't know he's been like producing for years now. Like he's been out for so long, and he's just now getting the recognition that he deserves. But everything that they've done, it seems super organic and authentic. And I feel like he's never alienated his New York fan base.
I agree. I feel like it's, really community world building vibes like you've been mentioning.
Yeah.
Jazzy's asking, what are the things to look out for that are actually valuable instead of vanity metrics and placements?
I think creating the community that is invested into you. So doing all these things that we talked about, and like this world building, it's not things that you throw money at, it's things that you do over time, right? Like it's not, I can't pay for these things. These are things that you have to just do over time in that 2 to 3 month process of your rollout. You start investing people, you do the discords, you know what I mean? You're responding back to some fans, you're going live and like, letting fans join your live. I think those are the things that just like take time, but they don't necessarily cost money, that are more valuable. And I think making the short form content and repurposing that content across all social media platforms, that's the type of stuff that I would invest my time into. I feel like a lot of people who are successful right now, it's the time they put in, it's not the money that they put behind it necessarily. I think when something's on fire in the music industry, you want to put gas on it. That's when you throw money at it. But the fire doesn't start from the gasoline, if that makes sense.
Facts. And I mean, jumping on that, Alan right here, he dropped a gem. He says he's a digital marketer. And when you use ads, you want to use ads, he's saying, for a piece of content that already worked.
Exactly.
Experience. Yep.
Not
Um,
the same
like you
thing.
just said, yeah, literally pouring gas on a fire. So I love it. We're connecting all the dots.
Literally.
Price Brian, would you market an Afrobeats artist closer to the R&B model or the rap model, or does it depend on the particular artist?
An Afrobeats artist, personally, I think I would probably market closer to the R&B model for sure. I feel like it lends they lend themselves to each other a little bit, and like they have a similar like sound to them in a way. And I feel like you could just collaborate with more R&B artists and hip hop artists. I've seen that work. I haven't personally worked on any Afrobeats projects. I enjoy the music, but I'm not like super familiar with the space as far as like what's going on the scene on a day to day. But I do personally see when they link up with R&B artists that tends to work more than rappers.
Well, honestly, I think we're right on track to answer the last question I'm seeing here. I think we've answered everyone's questions. If you guys have any more, shoot them. But what is Music Connect? Don Johnson is asking. And what are some other tools independent artists should tap into to take control of their business?
Symphony.
Okay.
Period. So like Symphony, tap into Symphony if you want to, get some insight and have some marketing tools and help with your rollout. I definitely think that it's a independent artist friendly, software and platform that you can take advantage of. Music Connect is a service. Let me pull it up because I don't even know who owns it. I think it used to be owned by Nielsen or Illuminate. It's something internally through Sony. I don't know if you can just access it. I think you can. I think you just have to pay. But definitely, it's just a software that you can track streams and sales and equivalents. So if you're trying to see if like for example, I can go on there just to see how Rack Baby's project is doing, or I can go on there because Greedo's Substance is about to be double platinum, and I want to see where it's at. You know what I mean? To see if it qualifies with the RIAA.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think one more. We have one more, the Davina
Yeah.
Project. Is it worth it to invest in an overseas fan base as an American artist?
Not unless you have a sign from that country that there's a momentum there or that they're interested in it. I wouldn't just like randomly start marketing my project in another country unless there was like some type of sign or indication that it worked over there, or unless maybe the artist has like roots there or they're from there, their parents from there. I think that kind of makes more sense to me, and I feel like it's just really hard. I feel like it's easier for an artist from a different country outside of the United States to like market themselves in America, if that makes sense. I
Yeah.
haven't really seen, only thing I've seen that really works is like South Africa usually like are champions for like R&B music. I feel like they're like an early indicator on like if something's gonna like work R&B wise, and like also like think about like how many times Chris Brown like goes to Thailand. Like he's always performing in Asia because they like love R&B music. So like I think it just depends on the genre and like if that place has a history of like championing the sound that you're trying to promote.
That makes sense. Well,
Yeah.
Ara, I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you hopping on today, sharing everything that you just shared.
Thank you.
I know some people ask questions about like specific different seed pages, so I don't know if there's a place where you can direct them to tap in with you if they have any questions. I know you mentioned LinkedIn, so maybe that's a good place to connect
Yeah.
with you on. But if you want to share where else they can connect with you, the floor is yours.
Yeah. So my Instagram handle is at Aara AARA.J. My LinkedIn is just my name, so Aara Holtzclaw, HOLTZCLAW. And yeah, you can DM me on Instagram or reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm not gonna put it in like a general place because I feel like I don't want to give away too much. But if anybody has something that they have a question for directly or they want information directly, I'll give it to you directly for sure.
I appreciate it, Ara. We appreciate you. Thank you for sharing everything you shared today. And yeah, we'll
Thank
chat.
you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. See you next time.
Peace.